to assist in the investigation. Both residents of 2830 Poppy Lane stated they did not see anything but were awakened by the explosion. Fortunately, no one was injured. However, the explosion was strong enough that it could have resulted in serious injury or death to anyone standing nearby or struck by one of the pieces of shrapnel. So you'll see here some of the shrapnel here.
Hey everybody, just to jump in here, we were having some problems with our connection there, but we have those ironed out now. You are watching the news conference from the Flagler County Sheriff's Office, and they're showing some pictures of the shrapnel that was found after that explosion outside a home on Poppy Lane back in 2022. Let's go ahead and let you jump back in and listen here.
This shows the extent of the explosion and the power of it. That was actually an end cap to the pipe bomb. And some of the shrapnel that was located and recovered. That shows you some of the sizes and some of the shrapnel. That was some of the things that were found inside this pipe bomb, and I just want to point out, here's some paper that has some writing on it, ink, and so forth. During the investigation, the resident of 27 Poppy Lane in Palm Coast, Jason Robert Burns, who's a white male, a date of birth 11/18/1974, was identified as a person of interest due to his hostility toward the victims of these homes. Burns was also known to the Sheriff's Office, the FBI, and local businesses for being a prolific writer, writing, distributing, and mailing rambling rants about various claims against government, elected officials, and businesses. All of these letters were analyzed by the FBI and our Homeland Security section. None of these writings contained any threats. We now know that they were rambling rants from an escalating madman in the making. And this is just some examples of the letters that he has written either to businesses and dropping them off to the FBI. And he certainly is not a fan of myself as sheriff, I promise you that. But he didn't make any threats. Sheriff's deputies had responded 60 times for various calls to 27, 29, and 30 Poppy Lane. At Burns' residence alone, deputies responded to 8 separate domestic and verbal disturbance calls for service. Deputies have also had contact with Burns 11 other times on a variety of calls, including multiple suspicious incidents where local businesses in the Flagler County Library when he was found, leaving handwritten notes at their location that we believe were all written by Burns. Sheriff's detectives and special agents from ATF's Jacksonville field office served a search warrant at 27 Poppy Lane. During the search warrant, items were seized that were consistent with the material found at the crime scene from the blast in the suspect's garage, including a drill bit with PVC residue, caulking used to seal the pipe bomb, a single sock that matched a sock found in the IED, which was the cloth that I pointed out. All these items were believed to be used by the suspect while making the pipe bomb. These items were analyzed using the scientific capabilities of our internal CSI and ATF forensic and lab experts. ATF's forensic lab in Atlanta examined the crime scene material for propellant powders, latent fingerprints, DNA, and other leads. ATF's National Center for Explosive Training and Research made the official determination that we were dealing with an actual explosive device. The ATF lab found DNA, handwriting, and partial fingerprints on various materials from the IED remnants. During the investigation, Burns said he was sleeping in a truck in Flagler Beach with a friend at the time of the explosion. However, detectives obtained cell phone records and GPS data that placed him in the area at the time of the explosion. When he was confronted with this discrepancy, he claimed a friend had his phone. On January 4, 2023, detectives obtained a search warrant for our suspect's DNA. The DNA sample was sent to ATF's National Laboratory Center in Beltsville, Maryland, which determined the DNA found at the scene of the blast was a match for Jason Robert Burns. In fact, the forensic DNA match was so strong, DNA experts determined there was only a 1 in 1 trillion chance that DNA recovered from the scene belonged to anyone else other than Burns. In this case, the DNA match was like winning the lottery. But instead of getting cash, windfall, he got an arrest warrant. On Thursday, May 9th, detectives obtained a 2-count arrest warrant for Burns, arson in the first degree, and making, placing, or possessing a destructive device with property damage. Burns was arrested last night, as you'll see here in this photo, as he was being taken into custody by our Homeland Security section, and is being held at the Sheriff Perry Hall Inmate Detention Facility in Bunnell under $75,000 bond. At the time of his arrest, Burns was on probation for stalking. His ex-wife reported that he had been putting letters in her mailbox, one of which contained a white powdery substance, and a threatening message, "Heart attacks happen," which prompted her to notify law enforcement he was arrested at that time and placed on probation. I want to commend our Homeland Security section, which includes PACE, the Real-Time Crime Center, our Criminal Intelligence Unit, for the thorough investigation. And this investigation could not have been successful without the support of our partners in ATF and FDLE, who have been working with us from day one of this investigation, and with the help of the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office, specifically their bomb squad. The successful resolution of this case reflects the type of collaboration and partnership we enjoy in Northeast Florida with our local, state, and federal agents. It also shows, and is a message to criminals, that we will not give up. We will continue to work these cases with our partners. And if you commit a crime in Flagler County, it might take 2 years, like this case did, because of all the forensic evidence that had to be done. We're going to get you and hold you accountable. This guy was a Unabomber in the making, and this is typically how they start. They start writing letters. They start having a manifesto. And while he didn't exactly say what he was unhappy about, he was thinking everybody was conspiring against him, including the sheriff's office and a number of other agencies, and including local businesses. So with that, I'll ask our partners if they would like to say anything, and then I'll open it up to any questions. I either covered it well or they're not. I don't know. So I'll be glad to answer any questions that you may have.
If you could, I know you talked and showed pictures of the bomb, but could you describe a little bit more detail how it was put together?
Sure. So that might be better answered by ATF, but I won't put them on the spot unless you want to. Go ahead. So basically, it was PVC pipe that was cut. It had holes drilled in it. It had cardboard on the inside and wires and an igniter and caps on either end. And then it looked like, from what we covered, it did have a little bit of shrapnel in it, but most of that shrapnel came from the explosion of the PVC pipe.
I know we talk about like debris fields, there are accidents or incidents. Could you talk about how far the shrapnel and the pieces were? Would you say like a couple yards? Or how far? We
found shrapnel 95 feet away, which is, so that would be 2 or 3 houses over from where the explosion actually occurred.
And I know,
So this had clearly the capability to seriously injure, if not kill someone. We're fortunate he did this at night and people were inside in a brick wall. No one was walking on the street. And, they got woke up and their houses got damaged. Nobody was hurt.
Who was he targeting? Was it both neighbors? Because I know you mentioned he had some issues with both.
So he made an allegation that one of the neighbors was having an affair with his wife. We can't verify that. That's just his claim. And I would take that to a grain of salt because remember, he said after he got caught being there by technology, oh, a friend of mine had my phone, which we don't believe. So, I wouldn't want to paint one of the neighbors as having an affair because I don't think that's appropriate. That's just what his claim was.
I know you talked about okay. I know you talked about $75,000 bond. Considering what you have explained to us about his history, what was included in the letters? I know there weren't any threats, and you described him as a Unabomber in the making. $75,000. If you could speak to that, were you wanting more?
Well, we were hoping for no bond, we're hoping obviously that that he will be violated on his probation and held in jail. And I think this guy is a danger to this community. He needs to be kept in jail where he can't hurt anyone in this community, including the businesses and myself that he obviously has issues with. And they're really just made up issues. He claims here that, I'm going to go to prison and be with child molesters and rapists, and he hopes I have fun in there. He's mad at the car dealership for whatever reason. He's been mailing stuff to our local radio station, WNZF. And fortunately, everybody's been letting us know about this, but up until we could prove this case, none of his letters, which I would describe as ramblings, had any threats in them. And but if you look at how the Unabomber started and how some of these individuals that just get focused, that think they're being followed or government's going after them and they start writing their ramblings, this is exactly how, when you look at the history, they start. And then it manifests themselves into taking action. And maybe he got a little scared. He didn't stop writing his letters, okay? But when we started the investigation, did the search warrant and all of that, maybe he had enough sense to say, okay, I better not do this again. He probably thought he got away with it because it was a 2-year investigation.
That's what I was going to ask. 2 years, and it sounds like, going through the forensic process takes time. There are other cases that are being worked on. But just, I want to clarify, the 2-year part of the investigation is because you were waiting to get back information to connect the dots with the case.
So, correct. So to get like cell phone tower information example, we have to serve a search warrant. We have to provide it to the carrier. And then they have to, on their time, because we're not the only ones asking for things, they have to provide it to us. I will tell you that we were aware of him. Our Homeland Security section, my criminal intel unit, was all aware of him. So I would not say that we were just letting him walk around freely. He might be a little close thinking that he was being watched. Not the way he claims it was done, but we were aware of him, and we weren't just going to let him go about his day and not know what he was up to as best as we could. And I can tell you the FBI also vetted the letters, but that really shows the collaboration and the partnership that we have, because we all knew about this guy, even though he was sending letters to different agencies and businesses. We were all working together, and the businesses were telling us what they were getting from him.
Does he ever correct this year?
Not that I'm aware of.
What was the explosives bill?
Well, we believe it was a commercial grade firework.
Was that analyzed to find out if it was accessing other supplies?
What the material? I would turn that over to the ATF. Sure.
So we do that analysis, I think specifically in this case.
All right, you have been listening to the Flagler County Sheriff, Rick Staley, describing the investigation into a Palm Coast man who is now facing charges in connection with a residential bomb explosion from 2 years ago. We're going to get you caught up here. I know you may have missed the beginning of that news conference because of our audio issues at the beginning. But just to recap here, there was an explosion reported at a home on Poppy Lane in Palm Coast. This was back in January of 2022. January 27th, I believe, is the date. It was early in the morning, 5:30 in the morning. Investigators ended up finding pieces of PVC pipe that they believed was from an IED. That's an improvised explosive device. The victim whose property this happened on described an ongoing conflict with a neighbor across the street. Investigators say that neighbor was Jason Robert Burns. Burns, the man now charged with arson and also with making, possessing, placing, and discharging a destructive device in connection with this case. Now, they worked in conjunction. The sheriff's office worked in conjunction with federal agency ATF and also with the St. Johns County Sheriff's Office bomb squad. They determined that there was a pipe bomb made with fireworks in this case. Interesting to note the description of this suspect. I'm going to go ahead and show you his mugshot. He was arrested late last night, just before 10 o'clock last night at his home in Palm Coast, or I should say where he's been living in Palm Coast. This is Jason Burns. The investigators today described his, quote, hostility toward his neighbors. They say he was also known to law enforcement already at the time of this explosion because of his many writings to businesses in the area, to agencies, to law enforcement. Investigators called those ramblings, but they said they did not contain threats. However, in the course of their investigation, the sheriff today saying that he believes that this man, Jason Burns, was, quote, a Unabomber in the making. Now, obviously, these are allegations being made by the sheriff's office and things that they will have to continue to show in court. However, they do say that DNA samples backed up investigators' findings that they believe he made this bomb, and that cell phone records as well showed him in the area at the time. So an interesting case today with these new details out of Flagler County. Again, this arrest made just last night. This case, this investigation has spanned 2 years. Fox 35's Randy Hildreth is on this story. She was at that news conference. So you heard her asking some questions of the sheriff there, and she will have more coming up tonight on Fox 35 News. We appreciate you joining us here for this special report here on Fox 35 News Plus. Have a good afternoon.
And that helped us link all